Welcome everyone. Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. My name is Bo Knudsen and I am the Program Officer for Portuguese, Swahili, and Turkic languages with the CLS program at American Councils for International Education. Thank you for joining me today for our site-specific virtual pre-departure orientation, or VPDO, session for students headed to Baku this summer to study Turkish. Congratulations again on receiving a U.S. Department of State Critical Language Scholarship. This is an amazing opportunity for you to devote 2 months to increase your language proficiency in Turkish and experience and explore the culture of Azerbaijan firsthand. The program is designed to challenge you while also allowing you to increase your proficiency in Turkish and cultural understanding in an immersion environment. If you all feel that you've successfully completed both of these by the end of the summer, then we'll consider it a successful summer for all. In today's virtual orientation, we want to provide you some site-specific information that will help you get acquainted with the CLS Turkish program in Baku. We're going to review core aspects of the CLS program, as well as discuss student preparation for the summer. We're going to discuss some topics CLS participants have identified as challenges in the past, and provide you all with opportunities to start thinking about strategies for adapting to these challenges that we see coming in the summertime. We're going to talk through the academic program. We'll talk about language partners, host families, identity and diversity issues, health and safety in country, site-specific policies, clothing and packing, preparation before the program, and we'll hear some advice from previous participants. Really the goal of this video is to go over aspects of the CLS program that we want you to start thinking about now. We can't cover everything in this video, but we want to get through the main information to help you prepare. You'll get more information from us in the next few weeks, including the participant handbook for CLS Turkish. More information will also be covered in depth during the pre-departure orientation, or PDO, here in Washington, D.C., and in your in-country orientation. If you have any questions at any point while watching this video, please note them, write them down, and you can reach out to me by phone or by email in the days and weeks to come following this video. First up, we'd like to introduce you virtually to a few staff members. You might remember some of our higher team members that we introduced in part 1 of the VPDO. The most important person on our team on the DC side who works directly with the State Department is Jeanette Owen. Jeanette Owen has worked with outbound language study programs her entire professional career and has worked with CLS since 2009. She also has a background in Russian studies and linguistics. You know me from my email announcements and our recent communication and our phone call. I began work with the CLS program as a resident director in Ufa, Russia in 2010. I'll be working closely with your on-site resident directors, and the Institute staff in Baku to make sure that everyone is informed about what's going on in the program. I'll be responding to inquiries from them, and I'll work to resolve any issues that may arise on program. You might be dealing with me on program when it comes to forms and travel, but really once you fly overseas, you'll be working most directly with the resident director and not communicating directly with me. Let's meet some of the people that you'll be working with at Azerbaijan University of Languages. So Azerbaijan University of Languages is the host of the CLS program and has hosted CLS since 2010. AUL is a university that prepares its students for continued study at the undergraduate, graduate levels, and also with professional development for teachers. The university has 3 campuses, 8 schools of study, and more than 5,000 undergraduate students, as well as over 300 graduate students. AUL is home to the U.S. Embassy's American Center, which is an internet center and library that offers access to reference schools and research services. It will also be in the same facilities as our classrooms for the CLS program, the American Center. AUL is a large and very well-respected university in Azerbaijan, so you're in good hands while you're abroad this summer. Here are some staff members in Baku with whom you'll become acquainted in the initial first few days. Dr. Jala Garibova is a lecturer at Azerbaijan University of Languages. Since 2010, Dr. Garibova has been collaborating with American Councils as Institute Director for CLS Azerbaijani. Since 2016, Dr. Garibova has also been working as the Institute Director for CLS Turkish, and she's also been supervising American Council's Turkish flagship program at AUL. Dr. Garibova has also coordinated on many EU educational programs and projects on behalf of Azerbaijan University of Languages and the Azerbaijani government. Working with Dr. Garibova is Ramika Shurlayeva. Ramika Shurlayeva has been working with CLS since 2012. She has a lot of great experience working with American students, CLS students, a lot of cross-cultural knowledge. She'll mostly be working behind the scenes in support of teachers. She'll be working with language partners to make sure your experience with them is smooth and successful. She'll be participating in the in-country orientation. Jody Blankenship is the country director for American Councils Baku. American Councils has a field office in Baku, and Jody and her staff really help to recruit, select, and train host families for CLS participants to help resolve housing issues, and also to provide general support for participants. Jody's will be helped in this work by Narmeen Zainali, who is program assistant for American Councils Baku. We weren't able to get a picture of Narmeen. Narmeen will be working to support all program logistics and also working with language partners. Here is our resident director for summer 2019, Rebecca Barr. Rebecca will be your primary point of contact during the program. Rebecca is an alumna of Nestle Youth Program in Adana, Turkey, and also of CLS Turkish in Ankara from 2013. Rebecca is an international education professional and has worked for several years in student development and support on study abroad programs, both in Qatar and in the United States. Rebecca's love of all things Turkish began when she did her Nestle Youth Year in Adana, Turkey. She continued her Turkish language studies at Georgetown, and during that time she won and participated in the CLS program. She has a passion for international education and is currently finishing her master's in global studies in Germany. She spent the last 2 semesters in Buenos Aires and Bangkok. She's looking forward to spending this summer in beautiful Baku with you and getting to know you as participants and as people. She's always down to have a cup of chai or 5 and discuss languages, current events, books, travel, culture, and food. You'll be meeting Rebecca when you arrive in country at the airport. I want to show you a typical daily schedule for a CLS participant. On program, you're going to be extremely busy all summer. And we really mean it when we say CLS is an intensive language program, an immersion program. And these aspects can be exhausting, so it's useful to look at the schedule and see what a typical day looks like. In the morning, you'll wake up and you'll have the commute to AUL. No student should live longer than 50-minute commute from the Institute by public transportation. But the commute can take longer some days due to traffic jams and accidents. Our host families are spaced out over different parts of the city, and so students will have different levels of commutes on public transport. From 9 to 1:50, students will be in language class, and during that time, there will be a break for lunch. Generally, students are responsible providing their own lunch. The university does have a cafeteria that sells tea and snacks and small foods, but if you're looking for a more substantial meal, there are restaurants and cafes nearby where you can get something more traditional or larger. And for those meals, you should expect to spend about 3 to 4 manats in local currency if you choose that option. If you finish language class, your afternoon schedule will vary throughout the week. Some afternoons will have mandatory cultural activities or excursions. Other afternoons, we may have scheduled meetings with language partners. You may also spend afternoons without scheduled activities at teacher hours, going to teachers for extra help to cover material that you might have been difficult during the class. I want you to take all of this into account as you think about your day, and then also keep in mind that you'll be commuting back to your host family in the evening, so you'll need to schedule in time for that in order to get back for dinner time. In the evening, you'll probably have homework to do, so you'll have time for that, but you're also expected to spend some time with your host family. This will be different for everyone, different from night to night, but your host family, will want to spend time with you and communicate with you. They see communicating with you in Turkish as part of their job and part of their experience in hosting you, so they will be doing that, speaking with you. They may want to go out to eat or explore the city or introduce you to new people. And I encourage you to take all of those opportunities. It really helps your language skills and practice in meeting new people, and it can be a great asset. I really want to emphasize too that even when you don't expect to have time scheduled for you, or when you expect to have free time, it may not always shake out that way, that you actually will have time to decompress alone in your room. Other people might be thinking about invitations and taking you along with them somewhere. So it will be very useful for you to be proactive and communicating if you need a little bit of alone time, or you would like to spend some time decompressing or relaxing on your own. Once you arrive in country, you will be taking a placement exam, and that's going to indicate which class you will be studying in this summer. This is somewhat fluid in the first week. As teachers may spend time with you, they may recommend a change for your language level. I encourage you all to be patient when it comes to placement, as all CLS participants are coming from different institutions with different levels of knowledge. A student who identifies as advanced beginning from one university may be at a different level than a student who identifies as advanced beginner from a different institution. You can work with the teachers, you can work with the academic director, and also your resident director to find a class level that you feel comfortable in, but also challenged by. It's going to be important for you to be aware that everyone is at a different level, and there may be days when the material is a review for you, or something that's already familiar, but it might be new for the rest of your classmates. All CLS students will take intensive language courses for 20 hours each week. These courses will develop your reading, listening, speaking, and writing skills, and provide you with opportunities to practice them in an appropriate context. You're expected to participate actively in the learning process, which means raising your hand, speaking up, answering questions, taking advantage of opportunities to speak. There's going to be significant differences in teaching styles that teachers will have in Azerbaijan compared to your experience with American styles of instruction. In addition to requiring more participation from you, speaking more in class, calling on you, you may find that repetition and drill exercises are more commonly used methods of teaching in Azerbaijan. Teachers tend to model their approach of instruction for students in the manner in which they were taught and in the manner that is commonly accepted across the region. You're also going to be expected to study outside of the classroom environment and complete maybe some assignments at home or outside of the classroom, and do homework assignments. All of that may take up to 3 hours of homework per night. It's important to remember that the CLS program selects students from diverse fields of study and degree programs. So we ask you to try to be respectful of your peers' skill levels, academic needs, and interests while also pursuing your own. Don't be disappointed if you spend more time on general vocabulary or grammar concepts than you have already learned in the past. The goal of the CLS program is to help you master the language so you can effectively communicate with people of other cultures. Throughout the summer, there may be a variety of situations that are not directly tailored to your own personal language learning interests, but we encourage you and ask you to keep an open mind. There's also going to be differences in pedagogical approaches and cultural factors that you'll see in the classroom. We talked a little bit about repetition and drill exercises, but this also plays out when the subject that we're talking about is the Turkish language. The structure of sentences and grammar in Turkish is completely different from other languages, but also pretty predictable once you've learned the patterns and rules. Therefore, you might find this repetition and memorization in the classroom more so than to what you're accustomed in your language study in the United States. But that ultimately is going to really help you with your study of Turkish. On the CLS program, language learning doesn't stop in the classroom. It's going to be exhausting. You're going to be speaking and hearing Turkish almost 24/7 with your peers, language partners, and host families, and maybe out on the street with locals as well. Your use of the language will have real-world consequences. You may order food incorrectly or take the wrong bus because of a language misunderstanding. This is going to be frustrating a little bit, but also a great opportunity to learn. Ultimately, it's important to remember that when you hit a plateau in your language learning, whether it's due to exhaustion or because you're struggling with a particular grammatical concept or rule, remember you're not getting worse. It's normal for all participants to feel like they're getting worse during the program now and then, but remember, just push through it, and if you momentarily forget vocabulary from week 1 or week 2, you're still gaining new knowledge and experiences every day. Oops. I wanted to cover a little bit about the language policy. You're familiar with the language policy from the general VPDO, but it's also going to hold true for you as participants in CLS Turkish. For beginner students, it will start 3 weeks into the program at the beginning level. For students who are advanced beginner and above, you'll be adhering to the language policy from day one. Everyone will sign the language policy agreement, and from that point on, you're expected to speak only Turkish in the classroom, at the institute, on excursions and trips, with your language partner, with your host families, and with local staff. Also with your CLS peers, with other participants while you're on campus or on excursions. Your RD will help to support and enforce this language policy, and so will your teachers. If they hear you speaking English, even if it's just tossing in English words when you don't know the Turkish word, they might comment to you about it. They might just mention, follow the language policy, please. Türkçe lütfen, kind of signals to you that you should switch back to Turkish. If this is a continual issue or a repeated issue, they might kind of take it up with you and try and address it directly. And we do have a disciplinary policy system in place for students who are disregarding the language policy. When students do this, it really can impact and damage the immersion environment for other CLS participants. And so we ask all participants to help sustain the language policy and support everyone's immersion environment and learning by sticking to Turkish all the time. I wanted to talk a little bit about language partners. Language partners are usually university-age students who are studying in Baku. They are fluent in Turkish. Some of them are Turkish students who are studying in Baku. They have received an orientation and a training on how to speak to you on a variety of topics. They're generally student age between 18 and 24. You will meet them in the initial days of the program. You will meet with them after classes out in the city. The goal of a language partner program is to get you out of the classroom to learn and practice Turkish in a sort of more informal context. Some of the activities you will do with language partners will be formal. You might attend events with them, cultural events and excursions. Others will be less formal. They might want to show you a museum or something that's happening in town. We will have a list of recommended activities for you to do and suggest doing with your language partner. You'll meet with them every week. If you have issues meeting with your language partner, you can talk to your RD. But I think getting to know them in the initial weeks and breaking the ice really does help in establishing a rhythm for having those language partner hours during the week. And it's going to be a great way for you to learn a little bit more informal Turkish that might not be what you're learning inside of the classroom. Language learning in a multilingual society is an important subject for learning Turkish in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a multilingual society, and Baku is a cosmopolitan city. And by that, I mean you're going to hear many different languages on the street. You'll hear Russian, you'll hear Azerbaijani, you'll hear Turkish, you might hear Arabic, and you might hear some of those languages when people are communicating with you. You frequently will have to redirect the conversation to Turkish. This is normal and happens in multiple CLS sites where we have multilingual societies. It might even happen in monolingual societies when locals want to practice English with CLS participants. When they see us in our tennis shoes and our backpacks and they approach us and speak English with us, it's important for us to redirect the conversation back to Turkish. We ask you not to be discouraged by this, but try and get used to it and to practice it on a daily basis. Most Azerbaijanis understand Turkish, and many speak Turkish fluently because Turkish media, including news channels, soap operas, cable news channels, and sports channels, are very popular and widely consumed in Azerbaijan. You might often hear Azerbaijanis refer to Turkey as Azerbaijan's big brother, and it's a big cultural influence on everyday life. Our advice is to try and maintain perspective when you hear Azerbaijani or different languages out in public, and try to stay adamant in speaking Turkish. People may try to redirect you to English or another language, but be patient, keep practicing the language. Ultimately, many Azerbaijanis will be very interested and respectful of the fact that you are there to study Turkish. Additionally, you have to adjust your own expectations a little bit probably to be prepared for the challenge of learning a language in a multilingual environment. We want to be honest about the fact that Azerbaijan is not Turkey, and therefore the language learning process is going to have unique challenges. It may be difficult initially to find Turkish language materials in bookstores, and it could be exhausting sometimes to redirect people back to Turkish. But we know that from last year's participants and in previous years, participants who have experiences doing this, they have made very strong and impressive language gains in Turkish in Azerbaijan. So being patient, flexible, and having realistic expectations of the language learning environment will ensure that you have a worthwhile and positive summer. CLS participants in Baku will stay with host families. Living with a host family enhances your experience of studying Azerbaijani and also gives you unique insights into how Azerbaijanis live and how the host culture operates. Host families are selected by American councils in Baku, and they will all live within a 50-minute radius on public transport from AUL. All host families go through a pre-programmed interview, a home visit, and a host family training where they learn about American cultural factors and how to host Americans. Some host families may have also hosted before in the past, other CLS students, but all host families will have been visited by program staff during the summer and the spring pre-program. In your home, you will have a private room and you'll be provided with a key to the house or apartment. Your host family will provide you with breakfast and dinner on weekdays and 3 meals on weekends. This is why it's important to communicate with your host family about your schedule so that you don't miss your meals. The CLS language policy also applies to time spent with your host family. You should only be speaking Azerbaijan when you are with them. You should only be speaking in Turkish when you are with your Azerbaijani host family. Life in Azerbaijan is very communal. And as I stated earlier, you shouldn't expect to have a massive amount of time alone while living with a host family. When it comes to meal times, your host family will try to feed you a lot. Azerbaijanis pride themselves on hospitality, and it's considered polite to serve guests second and third helpings. You should be straightforward when you're not full or if you can't eat as much as you're served. Past participants have recommended eating light in the beginning so you do not establish a routine of eating large quantities and have to continue to do so every day. You should not expect the same amount of alone time as you have in the United States as well. This is important to remember. Sometimes you need to be clear about your host family that after meals that you are going to your room to study your homework, to study Turkish or just do your homework. They may want to help you. So you should also be clear with them that some of the homework you'll need alone time to do. All host families are going to be different. Some may have young children, some may be single family homes. But no matter what, living with a host family will really enhance your linguistic and cultural knowledge. Try to avoid comparing host families with your group. That may just create unnecessary tension among your CLS cohort. Some participants will have a really great host family, really cool host family that makes great food that other participants envy. Other participants will take a little more time getting to know their host family. Please don't try to compare across different host families. And remember that each host family offers something unique. Gift giving, like many cultures, is very important in Azerbaijan. Modest and thoughtful gifts are a great way to acknowledge someone and to show someone that you value them. We recommend bringing small gifts for host families and language partners. You may also wish to bring small gifts for teachers at the end of the program. This is a good idea. Some ideas for gifts are things that you can do with your host family, such as small games. Host families also enjoy gifts that show where you're from. It can be a souvenir or an item from your local region where you're from in the States, or it could be something from your university. It could represent the local sports team in the United States. Other ideas include local food from your area, such as maple syrup or Old Bay seasoning. Refrigerator magnets are also a great gift as well. They're inexpensive and easy to carry in your luggage, and host families can display them in their homes. Not all gifts have to be from the United States. You can, of course, purchase gifts once you arrive in Baku if you're worried about space. For more information on living with a host family and cultural norms, you can check out the participant handbook, which we'll be sending out in coming weeks. All participants should be aware of the current territorial and ethnic conflicts in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, as well as the prejudices that many Azerbaijanis have towards the Armenian government and also towards Armenians. These topics should be avoided when talking to your host family. Since the early 90s, Azerbaijan and Armenia have been engaged in a conflict over a disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. Both countries have accused the other of committing horrendous acts of violence. In Azerbaijan, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict has an important role in constructing national identity and will more likely come up in conversations during your time in country. We advise against offering your personal opinions on this subject or pressing too much on these topics, as they really could be misunderstood for insensitivity. In our experience, the best way to navigate this conversation is through offering condolences for the loss of lives in country during these conflicts. Again, more detailed information about Nagorno-Karabakh and cultural differences and polite topics of conversation are going to be in the participant handbook. I want to preface this slide by saying that the topic of identity and diversity while abroad is a huge one, and it's going to impact your personal experience abroad as well as group dynamics. I'm introducing the topic here, but there will also be more information on this topic in your participant handbook and in the pre-departure orientation here in Washington. When we talk about identity, it's important to remember that we all have multiple layers to our identity, to the idea of who we are. You may be more aware of some aspects of your identity in Azerbaijan than when compared to when you are in the US and back home. Some Americans get the impressions that gender norms in Azerbaijan are very patriarchal and can be oppressive to women sometimes. Americans, CLS participants can be frustrated by social conventions where they see Azerbaijani women not treated on equal terms as men. It's important to remember the cultural context in Azerbaijan and that there are just different expectations for gender roles in Azerbaijan. For example, if a woman has a job outside of a home, they would still be considered responsible in many homes for daily management of the household. There are, of course, exceptions, but these gender norms are very common in Azerbaijan. On the topic of race, we do observe that Baku is a very cosmopolitan city where Turks, Russians, Georgians, Kurds, Southeast Asians, and Middle Easterners live. Although that might not be the same type of racial diversity that we're accustomed to in the United States or in the Western world. As a result, some students, particularly students of color, may receive more attention than their CLS peers. You might hear Azerbaijanis making comments about those with darker skin tone, both foreigners and locals. Students of color have reported receiving more attention, but that is often the result of a lack of information, experience with students of color among Azerbaijanis, and this causes local people to be curious and to try to interact. You might experience more interactions than you want in country, and you might feel frustrated and uncomfortable by this. I encourage participants to talk with their fellow CLS peers about it, and talk with your resident director about these experiences. If you ever feel unsafe in any of these interactions, of course, please contact your resident director immediately. Most Azerbaijanis are Muslim, but the society itself is quite secular and tolerant of other faiths. If you're looking to practice or observe religious traditions while abroad, you can reach out to your resident director or to the institute director about finding religious centers in Baku. Azerbaijani attitudes towards LGBTQI individuals generally differ from those in the US. You may hear some Azerbaijanis make negative comments about the community. LGBTQI individuals do not often show affection in public, and they are not open about their sexual orientation with strangers. We do not advise you to lie or to hide your sexual orientation while abroad, but we do encourage LGBTQI participants to be guarded and cautious about talking about their sexuality, even with their host families and language partners, in the beginning especially, until they get a better sense of how they will respond. I also want to note that Azerbaijanis will ask more direct questions than people in the United States, and sometimes these questions may come across as rude or invasive based on American standards. Why aren't you married? Did you come here to find a wife? It's possible to laugh these questions off, but you should remember that these questions are not considered rude in Azerbaijan, so be prepared for very personal questions like that, especially from your host family or people you meet out in public, and think of ways that you might be able to use your language skills to deflect them if they're uncomfortable. Of course, in all these situations, it's really important to maintain perspective. These beliefs also exist in certain parts of the US, and it's important not to become overwhelmed or frustrated with Azerbaijan or Azerbaijani culture as a whole. Whenever you're feeling frustrated about your experiences, particularly with personal identity, don't keep this to yourself. Your resident director and local staff are there, help you have a comfortable and enjoyable summer. It's important that you maintain your physical and mental health while abroad on the CLS program. Living in a foreign country and participating in an intensive language program are exhausting experiences, and so it's particularly important that you take care of yourself. It's very common for most CLS participants to get sick while they're abroad because your body is adjusting to a new environment. To cut down on the probability or frequency of illness, it's recommended that when in Azerbaijan, you only drink bottled water. You can buy this at any shop in Azerbaijan. You should also carry some with you. You should expect to go to the apoteka or the clinic in order to get medication. Your RD will accompany you to the clinic if you need to go to get some very basic medication. This is a common experience for all CLS participants. You should expect bad drivers and sometimes poor air quality in Baku. Of course, you will not encounter this every day, but Baku has very large boulevards and highways and roads. There are underpass passageways to get across many of these roads, but there will be many above-ground intersections, and you need to be very mindful and careful when crossing them. Also, Baku is on the sea, and so winds from the sea will often blow dirty air out of the city, but there is a lot of traffic. So some days, especially downtown, you might find that the air quality is bad. The summer temperatures will be very, very high in Baku. We will talk about this a little bit more in clothing, but you should also expect to carry water in case you're feeling a little bit overheated, and also possibly a hat if you get overheated from being out in the sun a lot. Additionally, you should avoid eating fruits and vegetables if you have not washed them. So there will be lots of great fruits and vegetables available everywhere at outdoor markets, but we really do recommend washing them before eating them. And we also advise generally to avoid street food or food that sits out in the sun for many hours on spits. There is a great temptation to eat street shawarma, but if it looks like it's been out all day or it's late at night, probably that's not a great idea to eat that shawarma. So stick to food that you know is safe. Despite all of your best efforts to stay healthy, all participants will get sick, usually at least once during the summer. So bring your preferred over-the-counter medication and be prepared for a visit to the clinic. You need to submit an independent travel form to your resident director at least 48 hours before your proposed trip. To expect Western-style supermarkets and internet cafes. There will be modern medical facilities, but sometimes the clinics that we visit will not be as familiar to us as a modern doctor's office. So there will be many cultural factors that will impact a visit to a doctor. The AUL University has Western-style toilets, but you will find Turkish toilets everywhere. And if you are not familiar with that concept, it's a squat toilet, and it sometimes can be a public use toilet or some toilet that is used like at a market or bazaar in a public building, or and sometimes you might find that they're less sanitary just because people put their feet on them. But this is something that everyone will get used to, and it will help you to appreciate the bathroom facilities at AUL and in your host family even more. We've gone over general CLS policies, but I wanted to go through some site-specific policies for Azerbaijan. As a participant, you're required to follow all US laws and all Azerbaijani laws on the program. American citizenship does not provide you a special legal exemption from Azerbaijani law, so it's important to remember to obey those laws as well. This means that for those under 21, they will not be able to drink alcohol. All use of illegal drugs are outlawed in Azerbaijan as well. Participants can't be around them. Your visa is only valid for the dates of the CLS program. There is a chance that once you get your visa in hand, it will be valid for a 90-day period. However, if you wish to stay longer in Azerbaijan, you will need to communicate that to your RD and to me, and we would work you would have a waiver for leaving for not taking the return flight home. If you do have a 90-day visa in your passport, there would be a chance for you to stay a little bit longer if you waive that flight, or if you're able to change your return flight. You cannot stay longer than the dates on your visa. So this means into September. 90 days after the point that you enter Azerbaijan, you will need to leave the country if you do choose to extend your stay in Azerbaijan, only because staying longer would endanger your ability to ever get an Azerbaijani visa, but also put our host institution in jeopardy. In addition to participating in CLS organized activities, you may also wish to travel independently during your free weekends. All CLS participants are welcome to pursue independent travel that doesn't interfere with required program activity or approval. This form will ask you to indicate where you're going, where you intend to go, how you plan to get there, and where you intend to stay when you're there, and when you intend to return. CLS participants are not permitted to travel outside of the host country during the program. You'll also need to be back to your host family on Sunday evening after your independent travel. Finalists will receive flight information a few weeks before you're set to travel. Some of you may have received it already. Students may change their CLS provided return ticket, but they must do so directly with the airliner. American Council staff and the travel agent cannot be involved in making these changes for you. Because tickets are purchased as group tickets, you may not be able to change them, or you may be required to pay a fee to do so. You are not permitted to make changes to your ticket before you have arrived in your host country, and doing so may jeopardize your ability to participate in CLS and may also create problems for other participants who have the same itinerary as you. So again, if you want to change your return ticket, you cannot do it before you arrive to Azerbaijan. And once you are in country, it is up to you to try and return your return ticket. If you are successful in changing your return ticket date, please tell us and inform us of that ticket so we know, and we won't be planning to have you on that same return flight. When you arrive in country, you're going to be signing a host family agreement, part of the site-specific policies. Basically, this indicates you agree to maintain a respectful attitude to your host family, keep your room neat, be flexible and understanding of your host family and their customs, their diets and schedules, and also inform them if you're coming home later than usual or traveling away from the host city. You should also be prepared to do your own laundry in the host family, and ask permission before inviting friends over. And we do not allow CLS participants to have overnight guests in the host family. You will have a curfew on program as well. It's usually at 10 p.m. During the weeknights and 12 p.m. on weekends. In class, you will need to, in the site-specific policies, you will have policies that require you to refrain from eating or using your cell phone. Water and soft drinks are permitted in class. You'll need to raise your hand to speak, and you will need to raise your hand and ask permission if you need to leave the classroom. These sound like small steps, but they're important to communicating and signaling respect for your teacher. You'll need to be appropriately dressed during school. We'll talk about clothing guidelines in just one slide, but basically, you shouldn't wear clothes that are a distraction. You shouldn't take your shoes off or wear open-toed sandals or flip-flops in class. We'll cover that in a little bit more in the next slide. You're not allowed to participate in demonstrations or attend political activities or rallies. This might also include public events where you're not sure what they are, but if it sounds like people are protesting or rallying or doing something out in public on the street, you'll want to steer clear of that and avoid it. We talked about independent travel being possible in the program, but it is not possible for us to travel to Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic or Nagorno-Karabakh. This is strictly forbidden and not allowed for Americans to travel to during the CLS program. There might be other travel restrictions put in place during the summer. We will share those with you as soon as we hear of them, or discuss any State Department safety warnings that come up or arise during the summer. Your RD will talk those through with you. A more detailed packing list will be available in your participant handbook, but here are some basic tips for how to pack and what clothing you can plan on bringing. You should pack for a hot summer. It's going to be hot all summer. If you wear shorts, it's recommended that they are not short shorts for men or women. It's recommended that women dress more modestly with shorts that go down closer to the knee, not wear tank tops. It's also recommended that men don't wear sleeveless shirts to AUL or out in public. Of course, you need to bring comfortable walking shoes. We're going on many excursions and we're taking part in many activities. The best advice is to pack light. You'll be able to get some clothes in Azerbaijan if you wish. Most clothing you wish to purchase will be available to buy. If you forget something, you'll definitely want to leave space in your bag to bring back gifts and souvenirs. For the pre-departure orientation, you should have one business casual outfit. You might want this, you might want to get this, you might want to use this formal outfit in Baku as well if you're invited to a formal event such as a wedding. You may also decide to dress up for the closing ceremony. It's a good idea to start off being more formal than informal. However, Baku is hot during the summer and air conditioners are inconsistently used because they're often perceived as causing illnesses or colds. Baku is becoming more of an international city and shorts are now gaining acceptance in society, whereas in previous years they were seen as a sign of immaturity. In my experience and the other participants' experience, as a foreigner, it is okay to wear shorts, but keep in mind that how you dress can signal that you are a Westerner and attract unwanted attention. One alumni noted as a tip, be professional, don't be slovenly in appearance or behavior. We'll be sharing more guide in the participant handbook about over-the-counter medication in clothes and some other ideas for things to pack. So please be sure to pay attention to that when you receive it. So what is coming ahead for CLS Turkish? You've probably already taken your OPI, your oral proficiency interview. If not, please reach out to me right now and we can schedule it, or we can work on scheduling it. You will be receiving a participant handbook. You'll get a stipend check probably in mid-May or closer to the second week of May. You'll be receiving flight information or possibly train information if you're in the DMV area around Washington, D.C. You'll also be receiving information for international travel. You'll be receiving hotel information about your stay for PDO here in Washington, D.C. Once you arrive for PDO, you'll get a CLS t-shirt. You'll get some materials to take with you on program. And you may also be asked to bring a smoke detector overseas with you. I don't believe this year you will be getting a textbook here in Washington, D.C. You'll get that in country. Again, you should think about having a business casual outfit for the pre-departure orientation, as we will have representatives from the U.S. Department of State. Here, real quick, are a couple tips from previous participants of CLS Turkish. Really put effort into getting to know Baku, where things are, how to get around, where the cool places are in the city you can spend time in. This will give you more flexibility when you want to do things with people. Walking around a city is a great way to get to know it. And so that you don't have to take taxis everywhere. Make sure you serve as an advocate for yourself. Be communicative, honest, and open. I think this is great advice. Advocating for yourself and using your language skills will really help you to feel like you have more autonomy and control over your experience. Here's an inspirational quote. You're on a mission. Focus on that language learning mission and focus on your socializing on the similarly sincerely committed. Find a hobby or class outside of school that will involve you in the culture. Take a dance, music, or art class that exercises another part of your brain. Another piece of advice, try to keep a positive mindset. Taking a break from chat apps or group messages was probably one of the best things I did. Distancing oneself from the 24/7 English is the key to seeing real growth on program. It's not every summer you will be on CLS Turkish, so spend as much time making local friends as possible. Okay, so we've reached the end of our video here. I encourage you to get in touch with me with regards to any questions that have come up during this webinar. Again, it's not comprehensive, but it's a great update for us now, and it will help start conversations that will help prepare us more for the program. You can call me directly on the phone as well if you just want to call. It would be easier for you. If you haven't already, please join the Facebook group for CLS Turkish. You can find the address there. The Alumni Resource Directory is going to be a great resource for you. We'll be sharing information about that soon. It will be updated for alumni from 2018. It will also have resources there for one-on-one mentoring if you're interested in that. I also shared links for the CLS sexual harassment webinar and the Ask B webinar that covers your health coverage. So please, if you haven't already, watch those webinars. I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it's been 45 minutes. This has been a pretty comprehensive VPDO. I hope it's been useful for you. I want to offer you and my congratulations for being offered this award and the opportunity to have this experience. I'm envious of your experience this summer, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at the pre-departure orientation here in Washington. So for now, I will say halakik or hoşçakal. Sorry, I'm also a beginner student of Turkish, so you can hear me struggling. And you can speak a little bit of Turkish with me when you arrive in country or in Washington, D.C. for VPDO. So again, thank you. In the meantime, please do reach out with questions, and we look forward to working with you on program. Bye-bye.